Situation is basically the same. We obviously need to do great change in society because society has been influenced about this negative point of view for so long. And what does that create? If we look at the bigger things, we need to look at how we can get our economy back on its feet. And we can see this. What has happened through the years is that the banks, which is the biggest problem, the banks has become centralized, and the banks are starting to make very they're creating policies. The banks are controlling who gets the money. The bank is controlling the economical growth, and the bank is also controlling exactly what you need to do to get this money. So the banks are really controlling. We don't live in this open market capitalism that people has been trying to create. We have an open, a free market, but all this that has happened is really going to a closed market. And if you look at this from this new point of view, they don't trust the people, they don't trust the world, so they're creating these small interest groups that influence the bank, and they're doing it because they don't trust that things will work. So we are actually going against this free market into a control market. And you can see that all the banks that has from the beginning been controlled by local countries, like the central banks, usually it's the country who decide how much money that will be able to be printed. But this has gone away from the countries into the private central banks owned by a few people, because that they claim they cannot trust the central bank that is owned by a country, because they think that will lead to the countries just overprinting money and destabilizing the system. But the country is actually supposed to be a democracy, and so they don't have trust in the democracy. They rather trust their own special groups and their own interest groups. And this is creating what we could see as this conspiracy. They are controlling the banks and controlling everybody, but in reality they're not trusting that the countries can and do have a democratic process. So we need to restore this capitalistic market, because we don't really have it anymore. It's not a free market, so we need to restore it and trust again that countries can do wise decisions and print money by themselves, to reinstate a trust in our market economy. And that also implies, obviously, that the free market economy is also a problem to many, because some people are just taking too much. And well, first of all, we need to reestablish a bit of trust in that it can actually work if people share. I'm going to come back to this point a little bit later, how we can help people to start trusting that sharing their access will actually be beneficial to the whole system, and that the rich people don't need to hold on their money. Because this is really the problem, obviously. We need to share. Sharing is creating movement in the market, it's creating abundance everywhere, while holding on to your resources will create a stagnation and build-up of energy that is not being utilized. But back to this central core, we need to go in and make this economical system working by building trust with the local people, with the countries. And to do so, we need to reinstate democracy. We need to help democracy, because that's what happened as well. A true democracy is obviously that we trust all people to be willing and able to help to steer this country. If we give everyone a possibility to say what they think and to share this knowledge and to collect this knowledge, I trust that this will work, that people will have enough knowledge to actually make sound decision on what the future, how to create a better future. While we can see that democracy has gone away from this more and more and gets into more of these small interest groups controlling the countries, controlling everything. We have many of these small groups that are not democratic, like United Nations or like the World Health Organization or whatever. We have this small interest group that put policy because they don't trust the people, they don't trust the democracy. And if we look at the democracy, we have these few parties, but these parties in itself are not democratic. They are also experts, they are people that are put into place because they don't trust the normal person. So we don't have a democracy, we have more a technocracy or a rule by experts, by the elite. But these elite people are also the ones that are most affected by this pessimistic view. So we basically have just a few parties of expert pessimists that are basically just fighting each other, afraid of losing their power that they need to have to be able to feel safe. No, this doesn't work. Instead of having all these parties fighting each other, we need to restate that we need to trust in the common person. Together, all of us, we create one big party, one government. From all of us, we join together, we trust each other, we trust that all kind of difficult political ideas have room and that they all have some benefits. It's not like one party has the answers and the other party has all the fault, which is many times what we see today in this kind of worldview, negative worldview. But instead, everybody has something to contribute, so we don't try to fight each other. Rather, we need to cooperate and work together. So we need to reinstitute democracy. We need to create a stronger democracy. And I think this is the two most important topics that we want to strengthen capitalism, free market capitalism, and we want to strengthen the democratic process. So, and again, to strengthen the bank, we need to give more power to the local government. So basically make the banks democratic. So basically it's all about democracy, and that democracy is controlling the bank, and then we have a sound system. But the third thing is actually at this point that we don't have at this point the natural longing to share. It's something that we need to teach people. The ones who get more are not willing to share. You could say nature is like a very free capitalism in this way that everybody is free to give everyone as much as they like. And in this way kind of trade occur in a way. But it's very free in this way that you give freely and you receive freely. So there's no one controlling and no one saying that you need to give this back, you need to do that. So it's super free and open. But in our society, usually you get something, and then you say, okay, I only got that, but well, I have a lot of what you need, but as you just gave me a little bit, I will just give you a little bit back, instead of like saying, well, I give you all that you need because I have it, and I just trust that somehow it will come back to me, but I'm just helping as much as possible. This is a bit of a trick. We don't have that. Instead, yeah, we save, we keep for later because we think it's going to be needed later, and that creates the problem of some people will obviously be in a better situation, and they will grow, but they will save more and more, and they will create this problem of, yeah, again, you create your walls and you create your bunkers instead of actually helping the world. So to really get rid of this problem, I have basically I have two different things that we need to do to regulate the market. And hopefully this will not be needed in the future, but we will regulate the market in this way to help people to share. And basically it's two ideas. It's the basic income. And basic income means that there is a minimum amount of money that everybody will receive. And this is to help, obviously, people who have nothing or that has some problem that doesn't get what they need. They will get a minimal low income. And this is very important, that this minimal income is not about that you're going to have enough to live in some kind of abundance in a way that we live today. Like most people, they want to have a car to be able to go on vacation, and they want to be able to buy gifts from the store and new clothes and stuff like this. This is also like this consumer thing is also just part of this trust in that we can have joy freely. Just by sharing what we have, enjoying life is enough. No, we think we need to consume all this stuff, but obviously that's not the case. We know that somehow, but we cannot apply it. So everybody wants so much. So when we talk basic income, many people say, like, I at least want 10,000 euros. Well, I mean, 1,000 euro in this case. I at least want to have 1,000 euro every month. That's the minimal. So they kind of pushing this lower level up so they can have their consumer lifestyle. And they're so pessimistic, most people say, well, even 1,000 euros I cannot survive on because I have so much, blah, blah, blah. I need this. Everybody is so needy, they need all of this, otherwise they think they will die. But the basic income is there to survive. And what you need to survive, you need to have food and shelter. So basically, basic income means that you always will have food and shelter. It could even mean that you're provided with food and shelter, to make sure that nobody starves and nobody freezes to death. This is what a basic income is. And from that point, which is quite low, you'll be able to create more abundance by finding work or be given extra from other people. So it's not the role of society to kind of provide for everyone. Society will just provide that you're not dead, and then you will be able to, even if you can't work, you will be able to inspire your community to help you. The community actually has the responsibility and should have the responsibility to make sure nobody dies in your town. But today it doesn't really have. So we try to inspire people to give and to share. And the basic income is just a help on the way to make sure that happens. And that should be involved in the local community. So you involve people into helping with this as much as possible to make it a community issue, to make sure everybody has their basic needs. And so where will this money come from is a question. Obviously it's quite easy. Economics are much more easy than you think. The complexity comes mostly from this problem of scarcity. You make it overcomplicated. But it's very easy to create money today. It's just about the bank making money. You don't need to tax people to be able to have a thriving economy. People think that, okay, we have a society, and to be able to pay for like healthcare and stuff like this, and making roads and community projects, you need to tax everyone, and it's a big hassle of taxing everyone. It's not needed at all. What you do is you go to your bank and you make the money. It's just like that. That's how it works today. But the problem is that it's actually private banks. So the banks that being creating the money is just enriching the owners of the bank and their friends and allies, which is not what we want. We want this bank to be owned by the people. And if you create more money in the bank, that will just create inflation. Well, that means just that you will create more money. So all the money in the society will be worth a tiny bit less, because you create a little bit new money. And this new money can be used to pay for all this basic income. And this can continue forever. It will just mean that you're moving a bit of money from society always into the people who are the poorest. So you don't need taxes. Taxes in this system should be taken away totally. There's no taxes for the average person. Nothing. Not at all. So that's the first thing we need to do to make sure there's no people starving. We create this minimal income. But the second thing that we need to do is to look on the other side of the spectrum, the people who has just too much, and they are having the problem also of saving too much and accumulating wealth, putting wealth out of the system. And in many places that converts to that they own too much land, but they don't trust people to use this land, and they don't have the capacity to use it themselves, so it just stands. While some people don't have a place to build their home, other people have just too much land that they cannot take care of. So how to solve this? It's the opposite of this minimal income. It's a maximum income and a maximum ownership. So basically you just have a level of how much each individual can hold in properties, in value, and how much they can earn. Well, basically it's just how much they actually own, because their earning will just add to their full amount of how much they own. So there is a limit on how much they own, and everything about this limit needs to be shared with society. And the most easy way, obviously, to do is to just have this. It's not a tax. It's not like if you have too much, you're taxing. No, if you have too much, you have to give everything. Everything over this level will be given back to society. So the only thing you can do as a very rich person is to start sharing all your stuff. Either you give it back to the government, all of it that's over this level, or you have some time to start learning how to share. So in principle, you could say, if we would start this system now, everyone who has more than this level, that I don't know what this level is, but it's a high level. It's not like everybody's going to be in this flat curve that everybody has the same. No, if you're a successful person, you manage to get company started, everything, you raise your amount of money, and when you come to this limit, it stops. You're already a success. In the world of, in everyone's eyes, you will be the success. You made it to the top. That's the top. In our capitalistic system, there's no top, because you can just continue until you own everything. It's like monopoly. It doesn't end until everything is falls into your hand, and the system is destroyed, and you are also destroyed because you're alone. So we create a new top. The maximum top is here, and when you reach it, you're already a success. You have everything you need, and everything that's coming out from that point will be returned to the state. But to increase also the responsibility and trust in these rich people, we will allow them to start sharing this wealth with others. Probably that will mean that they will start giving it to all their cousins and so on, but usually they already are rich, everyone. They already shared quite a lot, so that means it will share further out. They will start giving away in all directions. And so they will start practicing how to share. And if they don't share, it will just fall in the hands of the government, which will be democratic by this point, fully democratic, and that the people will decide how to spend this money, and it can be spent in many, many different ways to do good projects. So we have these two regulations, a minimum amount of money and a maximum amount of money. And this is basically all we need that I can see. I don't really see, I think most things will work with this. There's actually one last thing that is also very important that I'm gonna add from my point of view. Political action that needs to be taken is to deregulate the market. It's like this free market. We want to go to a free market, but today we are very little free. And now I'm gonna go not just on a free market, but a free life. If we look at life, if we look a few hundred years back, there's no regulation. You can go out on the street and start selling whatever you want in many cases. You can do whatever you want. You can build your house in any condition. Here where I live, they build houses. There are no rules. They just build their house. There's a trust that people can build their own house. Today, not. I cannot build my own house. I'm not allowed to. I have to pay like a 10% of the total value of the house. I need to pay in different kind of permits, experts to come and tell me that it's sound. I need to make this special designs. I'm not allowed to have my roof in any angle I want. Everything is detailed, explained by these experts, and I have to pay them to allow me to do my house according to their preference. Well, this is just crazy. So I want to see a total deregulation. That means everybody can basically do what they think is the best. But to avoid craziness, like all these rules comes again from a pessimistic point of view. They don't trust people to be able to do things. So they think, yeah, in the past it might have worked well, but today everybody's just going to make piles of trash everywhere. And basically, I think that's also happening to people aren't responsible. But that's also a result of not getting any responsibility. We're not responsible. It's these experts who are responsible for everything, and we're just, if we can get away with it, we will just trash the place. Like, we need to start getting more responsibility. So by deregulating, we will take more responsibility. That means then we're allowed to start our own business without paying taxes, without having all the permits. So if I want to start a business selling crap on the street, I'll just go there and I will do it. And nobody will question me. Nobody will take a cut of what I earn. I will just put everything in my own pockets. So that means that laws need to be created. And basically we have two sets of law in society. We have criminal law and we have commercial law. Criminal law is there to make sure nobody's hurting anyone. You're not creating harm. And these laws should be there for everyone. Everybody needs to make sure they're not hurting anyone else. But commercial law, that's just to moderate trade. So it's actually a regulation to trade. That means that you need to follow all these rules or pay a fine. And you pay taxes and all. This is all commercial law. And commercial law should not be applied to the normal person. Totally. Commercial law should be just taken basically away. So that doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want. Maybe you used to see like suddenly everybody is just occupying every inch of the town square, putting up their own business there. It doesn't mean that you can do anything you like, because then it will at some point go on to criminal law, which means that, yeah, if you're creating a problem for someone else, that person can challenge your move. So if you're taking the whole center square of your town and making a big market there for yourself, someone else can complain saying, well, this is hurting my business, this is hurting me in some way, or I want this square to be free so I can dance here. You create a criminal case and you will work it out, and you will go to court or whatever, and you will find a solution to this to make as many people happy as possible. But if you're not harming anyone, basically you're allowed to do it. You see what I mean? So we can do trade. We don't need to file reports on our income. We don't need to file anything. We're totally deregulated. So this is what I want to see in the future, a deregulation. So while normal people getting deregulated, the top companies and rich people, they are regulated. Again, this what I come back to the point before. Obviously, all the property that's stored in companies in private possession, they will just be cut and distributed. That will already create a big difference. But these big companies, the global companies, they will also be affected of this, because obviously the ownership of these companies will have to be distributed a lot more. If you own a lot of stocks in Google, you might already reach the maximum amount of money you're allowed to own, so you need to share all these stocks, either give them to the government so they are shared by the people and so on. So all these companies will be more democratic. They will have a larger base of owners. So all the big companies will have to change their policy. They will not be able to keep into their scarcity model, and there will be no need for the big company to earn so much money, because the owners of the company basically already have too much, so they don't have this need. So the companies will be more directed to the people. They will be shared more larger. But at the same time, these big companies, they will need to follow regulation. Obviously, we need to make sure that people don't own too much. Instead of like watching all people that they're paying tax, there will be just one layer of control, is that to make sure if you're coming up to this place where you own too much, you will be spotted and you will need to pay. And also at the same time, when companies come to this level where they actually own more than this amount, some certain amount, you will be regulated also, and making sure that you're not destroying the environment, that you're following all the rules and regulation. Today it's kind of opposite. Normal people, they're very controlled. We're not allowed to make anything, like you make a compost toilet and it's illegal or something. While the big companies with all their lawyers, they're able to just put their waste into the ocean straight away, because they have so good lawyers, so somehow they manage to do this. This needs to be just turned upside down. If we want to make a compost toilet, well, maybe it's is not going to work, and some toilets are going to be next to a river and it's going to create trouble. But we have faith that people will learn how to do this by themselves, and if trouble occurs, we will try to fix it. But the big companies, we will, well, eventually we'll trust them as well. But to begin, we will help them to do this, and we will make sure they follow all this regulation and rules in a sensible way. All these rules basically should also, in the court, they should be used as recommendations in the end. So if you go to court, if the company can prove that they are actually acting in a good, sound way, and that their action doesn't create harm, then there is no problem. They don't need to follow all the codes just for the code's sake. It's about the end results. But normal people will not be regulated. Only the top echelon will be regulated. This is the important thing. So I'm going to summarize once again. We need to create a new economic system based on trust in the people and in the governments and the countries. So all the banking will be owned by the people. There is no bank institution that will be owned by a private interest. And with this I mean no banks that can in any way generate money by themselves. They will not be owned by private big companies. This is a huge thing. This is the major thing. Second, democracy needs to be reformed so that it encourages all people to be part of it. And that means that we change the system of voting. That is not about voting on some kind of expert group, but rather that the people are part of the actual decision making by using this fractal distributed system of not only voting but actually decision making. It's a distributed decision making using fractal organizational tools. Third, we create a basic income that is very low to protect everybody, financed by our banks. We create a top roof of amount of property to make sure people share. We deregulate the market for everyone to make everything simpler, taking away all these unnecessary laws for normal people so we can trade in peace and we can share in peace without being stopped. This will just make economy so much easier. It will set off so much resources that now are being hindered by difficult bureaucracy. And last, the top companies will be regulated and they will not be able to hide behind some kind of lawyer, because all of this bureaucracy will be directed to them and them only. And with these simple steps, we create a world of abundance, and we can all survive and have a good time. And there is great future ahead. So this is basically the manifesto of the positive or the optimist. We can say this is the optimistic party moment, and I'm sure that it is going to work. We're not gonna all just kill each other, and we're not gonna overpopulate and destroy the planet. If we trust, I'm very optimistic that this will work. So I hope this will inspire some people, and I hope that we will continue to build on this concept and create a movement of optimists and let go of this old paradigm of scarcity, of negativity, of pessimism, and we against them. Instead, we unite together, we will make it, all of us, everywhere. Thank you very much for joining this episode. See you soon. Enjoy.